People, before we get into review of the week, just have a look there on screen. A buddy of mine, many of you will know, I've had him on here as a guest a couple of times, Joe Stunner Boxing. Joe is so close to 3,000 subscribers. I know many will know him from being on here, but those who haven't, those who maybe don't watch the lives or new to my channel, obviously get a lot of subscribers, go over, hit subscribe. He's nearly at 3k. I know that it's that agonizing little last push to get to another milestone. I know it. And I don't like other people having to experience it. If you could, go over, give him a sub. Appreciate it. Let's get into the video. Alright, people. Review of the week time. So, a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Let's start with last night's card, Beterbiev versus Smith. Before we talk about that, we'll talk about two of the fights on the undercard. Now, I've seen some highlights of Christian Mbele. I think is how you say that guy's name. He's definitely, that's definitely a French sounding name, and he is French. He fought a guy called Rowan Murdoch. I've seen that name before. Zach Parker. That I knew I seen that name before. I think that was on the undercard of Kell Brook. God, I can't remember who he fought. Mark DeLuca. I think that was on the undercard of that fight. Good win. Got the stoppage there in 6 rounds. Looks to be somewhat powerful. Has a good work rate, definitely. Seems to have that. Jason Maloney versus Saul Sanchez. Now, I haven't seen this fight. People are telling me this fight was an absolute cracker. Some are arguing that already this could be a fight of the year contender. So, I must go and have a look at it. That was for the WBO World Bantamweight title. The main talking point on this card was obviously Beterbiev versus Smith. Now, I've gone and had a watch of the fight again. And again, it was, from what I can see, one-way traffic. I mean, as I said in my post-fight review, within the first 10 seconds, Beterbiev had Smith up against the ropes and was landing shots on him. And I said in my prediction video that when I look back to a guy who, bear in mind, I'm not saying these two fighters are similar in terms of their style, but similar-ish in terms of dimensions would be, now, John Ryder, as I was talking about, he's smaller than Beterbiev in every way, but he was able to get Callum Smith up against the ropes, land some shots, and evade his shots when Smith was backed up against the ropes. I said that he does not want to be doing that against Beterbiev, and he went and he did it. So that didn't help him. He had an uphill battle, but that really didn't help him, letting Beterbiev tee off on him on the ropes, and that's what Beterbiev did. He was also very sharp. He looked very sharp in there with the counters. He really did. The jabs, everything. I mean, as I said, Callum Smith's face by the end of that fight, it looked like he'd been beaten down by guys with baseball bats. He really did. Beterbiev has some serious power. I mean, people argue that he may be the hardest puncher pound for pound in boxing, because with every shot he throws, there's bad intentions. Even the shots that don't appear to have a lot of power behind them. Like you see in this fight, he wasn't really sitting in and putting a massive amount of weight early on, certainly in some of those shots. But the sound, the thud, the damage, the impact, everything about them, every punch this guy throws is just painful. And with regards to his jab, again, I'm waxing lyricals, but again, I can't specify how good this fighter is and how funny he is to watch. The jab from Artur Beterbiev is so accurate and so hard. Honestly, like, there are a lot of fighters who wish they would have a straight right hand as good and as powerful, as accurate as that jab. Absolutely incredible performance from Artur Beterbiev. Really impressed by it. Like I said, I thought he'd win. I thought that it would go similar to the Marcus Brown fight, in a sense of Smith would have some moments early on. I thought he might be wise, especially considering he's got Buddy McGirt in his corner, that he would use his reach. He didn't. Yes, should really have known. He's never done it before. He has done it in patches in fights, but yeah, he didn't. He would have been wise to do it in this fight, but he didn't do it in this fight because Marcus Brown, obviously, he's a different style to Beterbiev. He's way more not Beterbiev, to Smith. He's way more athletic. I mean, he is probably, you could argue, more athletic than someone like an Anthony Yard. Very fast, very athletic. It's not a bad fighter, is Marcus Brown. Just a little bit fragile in the chin department, questionable heart, and quite a dirty fighter. But way more athletic than Callum Smith, way faster too. He was able to have success early on with Beterbiev. But once Beterbiev started breaking him down, we saw what happened. And I thought that that fight would go similar. Smith would have success early on, because Beterbiev can be a slow starter in fights. Sometimes he can be anyway. He wasn't last night, and yeah, broke Callum Smith down, beat him up over those 7 rounds. And, you know, with Callum Smith, I seen in his post-fight interview, he was definitely disappointed. you could tell the loss. He took the loss. I don't want to say he took it bad, but he took it really, like, oh my God, I really thought that I'd go in there with it. And of course, he obviously would have. You would expect him to go in thinking he can win. But obviously, he was left very disappointed after the fight. But Beterbiev, a great champion, a tremendous fighter, and Bob Arum has said here that he has declared that he will speak with His Excellence Turki Al-Sheikh to make Bivol versus Beterbiev next. I've just been sent an instant reply. His Excellence Turki Al-Sheikh has a message to his father, Bob Arum. Let's do it. So, likelihood is that we're getting that fight next, which, to be honest with you, last year, I sort of resigned myself to the fact that fight probably wouldn't happen, given the fact that the WBC had that absolutely absurd, and it was, anyone say, oh, it's not, it's an absurd ruling, that from where Bivol is from, he can't fight for WBC titles and stuff like that. Absurd ruling. I think that's pretty much gone now, and especially with the money on the line, Sullivan will just say, oh, I want some of that, I want those sanctioning fees. It means now we get this fight. And my worry for this fight was, one, that it wouldn't happen, and I kind of resigned myself to that fact anyway, but second, that if it did happen, I was kind of worried that maybe Beterbiev would be past it. And while I certainly don't think he's in his athletic peak anymore, I think he still has plenty left in reserve. Like, you got to bear in mind, like, this guy in his pro career, I've never seen him take really that much damage in fights. He's taken a few shots here and there. He's been down like he was against Callum Johnson, but he's never really been, in a really, really life and death struggle with anybody, really, So he's not taken much abuse. He lives a very clean life. I've never seen him out of shape. There's been a few injuries there, which is a bit of a worry, but for a 38, 39-year-old, he's quite fresh. So him against Bivol, it's a really intriguing fight. It's a fight I really want to see. As again, you've got Bivol, tremendous boxer, great judge at distance, technique is brilliant, feet are phenomenal, they're very quick, decent punching power, good combinations. And you have Beterbiev, who in his own right has an incredibly good jab, tremendous punching power, physically is one of the strongest light heavyweights out there, maybe even the strongest. And you put those two together, and bear in mind, they are the best by a country mile in their respective division. It's really crazy because light heavyweight is not a particularly strong division when you look at it from the surface level. Bivol fought Lyndon Artur, and I can't really gripe too much about it, even though I did think it was, and I still do think it was not the best choice. But then you look at light heavyweight and you think, well, who else is there? Really, light heavyweight, if you took both these guys out of the division, the likes of Anthony Yard, the likes of Callum Smith, maybe even a Lyndon Artur, would probably have versions of world titles. Seriously, if you think about it like this, because on the surface level of light heavyweight, it's very thin on the ground. There's not a lot there. So the likes of Buatsi, the likes of Smith, the likes of Anthony Yard, they probably have world titles. I mean, if you think about it like this, Anthony Yard has had 2 world title fights, Sergei Kovalev and Artur Beterbiev. You can't say he's gone in there and done it the easy way and had world title fights against someone who picked up maybe a vacant belt and isn't that good. It'd be like what Ryan Garcia is trying to do now. Oh, he wants a world title. Okay, you're going to fight Devin Haney. No, I'm going to fight Rowley, the easiest champion at 140. Yard has no luxury of having easy champions, nor does Callum Smith, because they're all tough at 175. There's only 2 of them, but they're both elite. Whereas, you took those guys out, probably they'd already be champion by now. Because the light heavyweight division is not stacked. You've got Beterbiev and Bivol, and that's it. Now that Ramirez has moved up, I think Joe Smith's moved up. Kovalev is cruiserweight, I think now. There's nobody really there, which is sad because it wasn't too bad a couple of years ago. I know Vodsek's still knocking around, but we don't really know where he's at. So on the surface level at light heavyweight, it's not really great. So these 2 guys, they need to fight now. And I'm hoping that we hear very soon when that fight will happen. As I said, I look at those 2 guys from a styles point of view, and I just think that's a phenomenal fight. I really, truly do. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I really, truly do. Now, let's have a look-see at some other news. That's pretty much the boxing out of the way. The Day of Reckoning, the event that happened obviously before Christmas last year, it has now been announced as the winner of the Ring Magazine's Event of the Year award. Can you really argue with that? Some would argue that Fury Ngannou might have been a bigger event just because of the kind of spectacle that it opened Riyadh season. I didn't. It might have been nice if I was there, but sat at home watching it, doing a watch along, waiting for the main event, having to kill well over an hour, that wasn't fun. And I don't think anyone sat at home watching as well found it fun, even if they weren't watching the watch along. Waiting between Adelaide and Wadley's fight to Fury and Ngannou was well over an hour. Whereas at least with the Day of Reckoning card, it was a little bit quicker. A little bit quicker. But it was a very good event. It went, it was one of those events where on the surface it looked like it was almost impossible for it to be bad. And it wasn't bad. It was very good. And, it was an event that just seemed to, it was really crazy, wasn't it? That it just came out of nowhere. It really did come out of nowhere. I mean, we had Fury and Ngannou, and then within what, a week, 2 weeks, fortnight, thereabouts, we were hearing that this card was happening, and you were thinking, it's not going to be this good. Certainly not. And then they announced it, and you're like, well, damn. So, yeah, no complaints about that winning event of the year. It was tremendous. It really was. Now, here's something that's interesting. So, Tyson Fury obviously has young Moses Atelma in for sparring, which is a very good, actually, addition to the Fury camp. Jayot Bataya apparently is going to be in there sparring Tyson Fury as well, which is, in my opinion, you couldn't get a better sparring partner to get you ready for Oleksandr Usyk than Jayot Bataya. Moses Atelma as well, really both tremendous sparring partners. Oleksandr Usyk has his sparring partner, at least one of them has been revealed here. Now, I'm probably going to get this guy's name wrong. He's Serbian. Sanel, I think is the first name is how you pronounce it. Hasovic, or some. I'm struggling here, people. But to cut a long story short, this guy is a 25-year-old Serbian. He's 6'8", so he's a big heavyweight, 6'8", which is, I know Tyson Fury is listed as 6'9". He's really 6'7", 6'8", thereabouts, because when he stands next to Klitschko, and yeah, I know Klitschko does tend to wear lifts in his shoes, but there was not 2 to 3 inches in height. No way. Now, this guy's record is 7-1 with 1 draw. Drew his pro debut. Lost to a guy last April just gone in 2023. Lucas Fajak. Lost him on a majority decision. Himself, his record and resume doesn't look amazing. So the only name I recognise on his resume is Pavel Sauer, who he stopped in 10 rounds. I mean, I think everyone, he's lost 19 times and he's been stopped 14 times. So if you're not going the distance with, or if you're going the distance with Pavel Sauer, that's really not good. That really is not a good thing. This is the guy Usyk has in. Now, no disrespect. He could turn out to be a revelation as a heavyweight. But I would say that Jayot Bataya and Moses Atelma are leagues better sparring partners. Saying that, there are fighters out there that when you look at their resume on paper, you'd say, why are you sparring him? That guy has lost a couple of times. He doesn't look like much. But there is the thing of this phenomenon more so called gym fighters, where you have fighters when you see them in the gym, you're like, is that the same guy I just seen on Sky a couple of weeks ago? Because he looked fairly run-of-the-mill, fairly basic, and the talent he's shown in the gym, why isn't this transferring to the ring? Some people are like that. In darts, and I like to use comparisons with other sports because it does happen. In darts, if you ever watch the big TV tournaments, you'll often see players go out regularly in the first round and they're just like, oh, when I get on the stage and the cameras are on, the lights are on, I struggle with the nerves. Well, darts players, for those who don't know, it's a bit like a PGA tour. You're not just playing a TV event and that's it. You're playing regularly all year long. And they do these things called Players' Championships. They do 30 a year. And they're behind closed door events. They've always been behind closed doors. It's literally, you've dartboards, referee, no fans, no anything, and you just play it on the floor. And you've players there who couldn't buy a win on TV stages are winning those tournaments, no problem. And they're quote unquote floor players. Whereas in boxing, you have the gym fighters. Now, the difference is with those floor tournaments, you win it, you get 15 grand. You do well in a gym fight, you don't get anything. You get a pat on the back. So it kind of does pay you to be a floor darts player. It doesn't really pay you to be a gym fighter that well. But there are fighters like that. And I've seen them myself. I've been around pro gyms here in Ireland, and I've seen fighters in the gym spar. And you look at them and you just think, damn, he's talented. Like what you're seeing these guys do, and it's seamless. The movement, the shot selection, the combinations. Yeah, they're wearing 18, 20 ounce gloves, head guard, all that, but they're just so free in there. They're moving well. They're letting the shots go. They look brilliant. And you're thinking, I can't wait to see this guy on fight night. I see him on fight night and you're like, is that the same guy? And the weirdest thing is, like, I actually can think of someone off the top of my head. I went to see him fight in Cork a couple of years ago. And his sparring partners, he was lighting them up. And they were all better than the guy he fought. He fought some journeyman. And I know it was a negative journeyman, but even still, I was like, you are looking sluggish as hell. That's not the same guy I was watching trash his sparring partners in the gym, who were way better than the guy you're fighting. It's just weird the way you have fighters like that when they're in that moment in the ring on fight night, they just can't put it together. But in the gym, I mean, you get gym fighters who could go in the gym and they could give anyone trouble. Anyone. Whether it could Oleksandr, Usyk, Tyson Fury, you might not even know who they are. They might be fairly run of the mill, but they can give you trouble. Seriously. So he could be one of them guys. In terms of dimensions wise, similar to Tyson Fury, he looks looks fairly similar. So that too, Oleksandr Usyk is sparring. Let's see. It's going to be interesting. I see they released one of the posters for their fight. They still haven't told us. I suppose we're not really a month away, but they still haven't told us how much it's going to be on TNT pay-per-view. I reckon it's going to be 30 quid. It was the Day of Reckoning card was £20. Was it? It was £20. It was actually €30 over here on BT Sports. The Zone were only 20 quid, to be fair. But I reckon it's going to top the £30, which would be €40 here in Ireland. Yeah, I know. I wish they'd keep it the same, but they don't, unfortunately. So that is the situation there. We'll keep our eyes peeled closely on that to wait and see when that comes out. The WBA have confirmed that Arsen Guillemarian, the WBA champion at cruiserweight, will make a voluntary defense of his world title against Gilberto Ramirez on March the 16th. So Gilberto Ramirez was next in line, somehow, for the IBF world title. So he was set to face Myris Briedis, or be ordered to face Myris Briedis for the vacant title. So that won't happen now. So what they'll do is, the IBF, they'll go down lower in the rankings. So you might be asking, okay, who is Myris Briedis going to fight now? Who is below Ramirez in the rankings? Jay Opetaia. Isn't that just wonderful? The IBF are just showering themselves in glory, isn't it? They basically say to Jay Opetaia, okay, Myris Briedis won't be ready until the new year. So you can't have the mandatory because Myris Briedis, the challenger, isn't ready. Okay, fair enough. Jay Opetaia says, right, I'm going to go and defend my title. Oh, you can't do that. Your next fight has to be Myris Briedis. Okay, well, I'll give my title up. Well, fine, you give it up. Ha 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 ha. You've lost your title. Oh, wait, now you're going to fight for the vacant. You're basically going to fight Myris Briedis for the vacant title again. And it's just pointless. It's just absolutely pointless. Do you know what's the IBF, right? I like the fact that they are better than the other two. WBO were quite good too. I kind of put them in the same bracket. But they're too strict at times. There are times where they need to be lenient, and they're not. And there are times where I just look at decisions they make and I scratch my head. You know, they stripped Joe Cordina only literally after he won that title in 2022 because he had a legit injury. And rather than, okay, make him champion in recess or have Zelfa Barrett and I forget the guy's Rakayev or something like that fight for the interim title, which is really what it's there for, they stripped Joe Cordina. Myris Briedis says, I can't fight until this time. Okay, nothing happens. It just makes no sense to me. And now they're back to where they started. So, not exactly covering themselves in glory are the IBF, but the British Boxing Board of Control have now officially ordered Solomon Dakis to defend his English title against Moses Atelma next. Purse bids Feb 12th. So, yeah. It didn't surprise me that they'll try and make this fight. I think that was one of the reasons why Warren signed them. Solomon Dakis arguably lost his last fight. He's not looked impressive. yeah, I couldn't really understand it, why Frank Warren signed him. And then it kind of made sense because I was like, he hasn't looked impressive when he was fighting with Matchroom. I expected Telma to win that fight very easily. Very. Solomon-Dakis does not look good at all. So I would expect him to coast that fight. I'm interested to know when he's out next. His brother is out on the February 10th show in the Copper Box. Wouldn't surprise me if he's on the undercard of Fury Usyk. Would be Moses Atelma. Jay Opataya will reportedly have his next fight on the undercard of Fury Usyk, Feb 17 in Saudi Arabia. Opataya will also be training Sparring Tyson Fury to help with his preparation for Oleksandr Usyk, which is a fantastic, as I already said, preparation. I think that's absolutely brilliant. When you look at Jay Opataya, he's not as talented as Usyk, he's not as good, but he does a lot of the same things that Usyk does, specifically the footwork. So it's going to be great preparation for Tyson Fury. Absolutely brilliant. William Zepeda versus Maxi Hughes is in talks also for March the 16th. I also heard that Loma versus George Kambosos is all set for May the 12th in Australia. I would rather be seeing Maxi Hughes in there. I will be picking William Zepeda over Maxi Hughes. I just think William Zepeda's work rate would be too much for Maxi Hughes at this point. But it is sad that Maxi Hughes should be getting that world title crack, and he's not, because he got robbed. And he got robbed. He beat George Kambosos. I don't care. Like, people say, no, George Kambosos didn't win that fight. He absolutely didn't win that fight. It was a clear win for Maxi Hughes. He should be challenging Loma, not Kambosos, in my opinion. And in the opinion of several others, that's how it should be. As far as I'm concerned, that is legit how it should be. What else do we have here? Kell Brook has stated that he's willing to come out of retirement to fight Eubank versus or Conor Benn. I think I actually already mentioned that. I reckon that Ben Shalom, because if you think about it like this, Ben Shalom, he must be absolutely crying himself to sleep at night, because Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, working with the Saudis, no questions asked. They're even putting their own fighters on shows. Their differences are all squashed in the name of money, because they're getting a lot of money. So of course, money makes the world go round. It can mend a lot of bridges. Ben Shalom being left out in the dark. Look, Ben Shalom at Sky has been nothing short of a train wreck. At the start, you have to give him a chance. Growing pains. No one was expecting much when he started in 2021, and even going into 2022. If anything, early on, the shows were not amazing. They weren't terrible, but I liked what I was seeing to an extent. And then it just went downhill. And it was even starting to go downhill before Smith left. Well, took a backward step. And now he has officially left. But the last, say, 10, 12 months have just been dreadful. Absolutely dreadful on Sky. And look, things need to change. They've got a card coming up this weekend, and I could not give less of a you-know-what about it. Literally, couldn't give less of a you-know-what about it. The undercard doesn't look amazing, which is consistent for Sky now. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's bad, right? When Sam Eggington came out I think it was about just before Christmas thereabouts, and was saying that, was it Ben Shalom or someone said that he's not entertaining enough for Sky? What? Sam Eggington not entertaining enough for Sky? Eddie Hearn kept Sam Eggington on for God knows how long, because Sam Eggington was so entertaining. That's one of the reasons why Hearn and Barry were pushing him so much, until they realised, look, he's really not going to go any decent level. And I think they obviously thought maybe he was finished after the Liam Smith fight. He did look finished in that fight. But he's been able to rebound. And what does Ben Shalom, if that's coming from him, really think that the boxing fan wants? What does he really think? If someone like Sam Eggington, who couldn't have a dull fight if he tried, in Ben Shalom's opinion, or the opinion of Sky, isn't entertaining enough for Sky, what is? Is he the type of guy who'd look at Gary Wardrow 1 and just think, well, that wasn't any good, Castro versus O'Hara Davis. The fans will be waiting until the fans see this. Yeah, they're going to love that. Reese's Bartholomew, the fans are going to be, the fans won't get enough of him. Is that what Ben Shalom is looking at and thinking that's what the fans really want? There's entertainment at all levels in boxing, whether you're talking English level or world level. If it's a good fight, it's a good fight. If two fighters are entertaining or one fighter is entertaining, people are going to watch. That's what I'll say on that. Those misfit shows, there's entertainment to be had on them. That's why with some, I don't pay for them, but I do watch them because some of them are duds, and some of them you're looking at and you're like, that was really fun. I don't care if they're complete novices. I don't care if they're swinging for the fences. That was a really fun watch. I'll leave it there. Let's see. If Berlanga shines against McCroy, Munguia and Pacheco could be next. I wouldn't pick Berlanga over either of them. And Patrick McCroy he's game. He's game. I would not be ruling Patrick McCroy out of beating Edgar Berlanga. I have not been impressed with Edgar Berlanga since I seen him with Top Rank. He arguably lost, I think he did, on the Fury Wilder 3 undercard against that guy. Actually, against that guy that Pacheco beat with fair ease. So yeah, I would not be. I wouldn't be ruling out Patrick McCroy. I'll put it like that. Ngannou, if Joshua takes the punch that dropped Fury, he might not get up. I already talked about that previously. I think he would. We may be hearing more word on the Ngannou Joshua undercard this week, hopefully. In fact, I have a funny feeling we might hear something tomorrow. So don't be. That's why I might upload this today, Sunday. I might, because it's only 7 p.m. It's only 7 p.m. in the evening by the time we're recording this. So we might actually get this out today, because I don't know. I mean, I was talking about doing a live today, but I'm just kind of in that mode where it's like, do I really want to sit and talk for another hour on top of this? Because I've been going for 20 minutes now. Do I really want to do another hour? Let's wait and see. Eddie Hearn, I truly believe Joshua will become undisputed. Well, obviously you're going to say that. You're the promoter. Do I think he could? Potentially. I don't know. Do I think he can win a world title? Yeah. But do I think he become undisputed? I think the talent in heavyweight, even if you take Fury and Usyk out, someone's going to turn Joshua over. I look at guys coming up like Beterbiev, Jalilov, and I just think that fight could go real bad for Joshua in a year, 18 months time. Real bad. I look at people like Jaron Anderson coming up, and I just think that Joshua, I know this is going to sound weird, but he is him, Usyk, Fury, Wilder, White. It's crazy to think how time flies, because it genuinely does, but they are, in a sense, the old guard now. Not in the sense of like they're past it or anything like that, but like it is weird, because I remember watching, it was a fight on Box Nation in 2015, 2016, and they were talking about, it was fighters from the Klitschko era, and they were talking about them being the old guard, and they mentioned Joshua and Wilder and those being the new guard, and now we're looking at the end of theirs. You don't miss how quick these cycles of heavyweights turn around. You know, you fast forward 6, 7, 8 years, and you know, you're just like, wow, that's gone by quick, and oh yeah, these are in a way the old guard, and that's how I would see Joshua. That's not to say he's bad or past it, but we have these really, really exciting, promising new heavyweights coming up, like the Beterbiev Jalilovs, like I was going to say Martin Bakole, but Martin Bakole is not that old anyway. Well, God knows how old he really is. But you've got the likes of Martin Bakole, you've got the likes of Beterbiev Jalilov, Jaron Anderson, Moses Tauma on the come, Fabio Wadley. So there's definitely a lot there. Nicky Ball expects a world title shot this year. I hope so. He deserves one. He's a very, very good fighter, is Nicky Ball. I like him. I seen Frank Warren actually say, I can't remember, I think it was Mike Coppinger who tweeted it, that they're looking to do another Magnificent Seven, possibly in Birmingham this time. And yeah, listen, if it's as good as the last one, because that Magnificent Seven card that Warren did back in November, that was tremendous. You know, Warren is someone who I definitely wouldn't hold him in that high regards, certainly not. But at the end of the day, he's a very good promoter. And he knows how to manage fighters' careers normally quite well. I mean, Anthony Yardy could be like, oh. But I suspect that was more down to him needing stars and trying to make a star quick with Yardy and Dubois than he does now, where he has stars now. But when he gets the shows right, he gets the mega right. You know, Frank Warren, that day reckoning card was very good as well. But that Magnificent Seven card with Nicky Ball and Denzel Bentley, that was phenomenal. That was absolutely phenomenal. There wasn't a dull fight on that card. It was brilliant to watch. Really, really good stuff. Hopefully more. Yes, Frank, please give us some more, Frank. Give us some more of those cards, because that was really good. That was really good. And I've noticed the quality of Warren's cards improving a lot over the last year. I mean, even his Friday fight nights in the York Hall, they've been really, really entertaining. I've been really enjoying them. Like that Dennis McCann, Balute fight. That was brilliant. And that whole card, his shows have been getting so much better. They really have over the last year, 18 months. To the point when I see a Queensbury show on now on like a Friday or something, I'm just like, oh yeah, there's going to be some good fights on this card. Really good. So yeah, shout out to him. He's been improving it, definitely, in terms of the cards. I will leave it there, people. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Lads, as always, hope you all have a great week. Enjoy it. Do whatever. Make sure you are safe. Make sure you come back here to watch the following week. Make sure you come back here to watch every single day. And smash the like button while you're at it. Do all that good stuff. We're at 15,500. Nearly at 16. We want to get to 20k like that. 20k. Goddamn, that's mental. But anyway, I will leave it there, people. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Until next time, people. Peace.